Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Ready Carlsbad Business Alliance meeting. And I didn't want to start our meeting without acknowledging today. 19 years ago, our country experienced a tragedy, one of the worst in the history of this beautiful country. And it was because of the events of September 11th that the U.S. government decided to make September National Preparedness Month. So it is only fitting that we're today meeting for the Ready Carlsbad Business Alliance, which focuses on preparedness, readiness, recovery, and response. And I'm honored to be able to be here and host this meeting and have today, the Assistant Director of Emergency Preparedness for the City of Carlsbad, who is also our co-chair, David Harrison, and of course, our wonderful representatives of the Carlsbad Police Department. So today, as we go along our day, I'd like us to think about and also make sure that we thank those first responders and the people who wake up every day to serve us, whether it is as first responder, police department, firefighters, our military, our veterans, and all of those on the front lines today, fighting also a global pandemic, which is a different kind of war. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here, and I'm gonna just turn it to Josh, who's gonna help me launch the introduction for all our speakers, for all our participants today, not only the speakers, everyone who's here today.
Terrific. Josh Mazer, Upstream Consulting, your technical assistant for the day. Happy to be of service. Let's go over to Alan.
Hi, Alan Cobb, Iceland Cobb Insurance, property and casualty brokers here in Carlsbad.
Alonso.
Good morning, everybody. Sergeant Alonso DeVelasco with the Carlsbad Police Department. Been here 19 years, grew up in Carlsbad, so I'm a local. I'm very vested in the community. Currently assigned to the crime suppression team, but one of my current duties that I've recently been assigned is the COVID-19 point of contact for the department. So it's going to be great talking to all of you.
Great, welcome. Bob.
Good morning. I'm Bob Welty. I'm co-chair of the Ready Carlsbad Business Alliance with David Harrison, and also part-time volunteer with Carlsbad in non-COVID times.
Great. David. Muted.
Mute. That's the catchphrase for 2020. You're muted.
Yes. Sometimes that's left better muted. David Harrison, Assistant Director of Emergency Services, City of Carlsbad, co-chair of Ready Carlsbad. Pleasure to be here.
Leela.
Leela Panagidis, President of Leap Into Leadership.
Lee.
Hi, Lee Wakefield, Centir Global. We train people to be left of booms. Thank you.
Brett.
Morning, everybody. Brett Schanzenbach, President and CEO of the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce, and happy to be with you all today.
Rob.
Rob Clapham, EMD Performance Materials, probably known as Versum Materials, formerly Air Products and Chemicals. So we have been going through some transitions the last couple of years.
Great.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Sarah.
Hello, I'm Sarah Gilman. I own Coherence Associates. It's the mental health counseling group practice, and we provide services to Carlsbad City employees and fire, police, and dispatch.
Thank you. Bryan.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. My name is Bryan Hargett. I'm a lieutenant at the police department. I work day shift, the front side of the week, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If you ever need anything, give us a holler. Second generation Carlsbad resident, currently living here and raising a family here. So your group is very important to me, and we love this town, and we're going to be here for years to come. So thanks for having me, and hit me up if you need anything.
Thank you for your service. Carolina.
I am Carolina Alban Stoughton. I'm the Director of Communication and Engagement at the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also the Chamber Liaison for this committee. Thank you, Josh.
Great. Two more. Mark.
Good morning, everybody. Mark Demansky. I'm Head of Global Security for TaylorMade Golf Company.
Thank you.
Glad to be back in these meetings.
Dennis.
Morning, Dennis Kushner, Chief Financial Officer and Corporate Compliance Officer for SunPower, also a member of the United States Marine Corps, San Clemente Chapter, Detachment 22.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you,
Welcome,
Josh.
everyone.
So now we're going to invite our co-chair of the Ready Carlsbad Business Alliance and Assistant Director for Emergency Services for the City of Carlsbad, David Harrison, to give us an update on what's going on right now.
Okay, that's pretty blank sheet of paper. But I'm going to talk primarily about wildfire. Okay, Lee introduced himself as left of boom, and I spend most of my life left of the incident, left of boom. But right now we're right of boom, and we're right of boom when it comes to COVID-19, and I'm not going to talk about that. Alonso is going to be talking about that today. But we transitioned into right of boom for wildfire in San Diego County this week with the Valley Fire. So although we are very much in the fire season in San Diego County, we haven't experienced significant wildfires in the coastal strip, the Carlsbad strip, if you will, of our county yet. So we're kind of in a dual posture. We're continuing to prepare while we are also responding to some of these wildfires that are occurring elsewhere in the county. So I'm going to focus on the 2020 wildfire season and talk about the critical importance of wildfire preparedness and prevention. And oftentimes when we think of fire prevention, we think of structural fire prevention. But this year, for a number of reasons, it's critically important that we pay particular attention to wildfire prevention. And the reasons that both preparedness and prevention are even more critical this year are because of some fire-related challenges. And two of these include the challenges of sheltering displaced individuals in the COVID-19 environment. I'll talk a little bit more about those later. But another one is that we've witnessed both in Northern and Central California and here in San Diego County as well, potential firefighting resource challenges arising from COVID-19. But we haven't had opportunity to conduct an after-action report of any of our regional fires yet. So I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We haven't done the analysis yet to really figure out what the COVID-19 impacts of resource availability is. But anecdotally, speaking with firefighters, there are some impacts in terms of resource availability. And others, firefighters themselves in the leadership of the agencies will probably be talking a little bit more about this if it is in fact significant in the weeks to come. But what we've seen in Northern California and here in Southern California is that it's been a very active wildfire season, and we've seen these fire starts result in large acreage burns even without significant wind-driven events. Okay, and so although we've had wind in San Diego County associated with the Valley Fire, it wasn't a strong Santa Ana event that contributed to the acreage. So there's, I'm sure there'll be after-action reporting and more analysis so that we really understand how these fires are growing in our current environment. There's many factors that can cause wildfires, but humans contribute to a large percentage of them. So let me just give you a couple statistics from CAL FIRE for the period of 2013 through 2017. Of course, there's been a lot of significant fires in 2018, 2019 that aren't reflected in these statistics, but, and I'll just run through these fairly quickly so you can get a sense of the very high percentage of these wildfires that are attributed to human sources, not natural sources. Lightning is a natural source, and lightning contributes to 6.4% of the wildfire starts. So roughly 6% of the wildfire starts are due to natural causes like lightning. Human or human-related causes contribute to the following subsectors. But before I say this, almost 25%, 24.6% of the wildfires remain undetermined. That means that after the fires conclude and the investigations are completed, the exact cause of the fire is not determined. This is not unusual. As I said, it occurs in nearly 25% of the fires, and it did occur in the Poinsettia fire in 2014. You might recall that when the investigation was completed, multi-agency investigation was completed, there were two potential causes of the 2014 Poinsettia fire. One was a cigarette or cigar discarded by a human on the rough edges of the golf course. Okay? But another potential was the possibility of a spark being created in the course of golf play. Okay, so it's either a carelessly disposed cigarette or cigar, or a spark produced in the course of golf play. But because of the fire burning so hotly, so completely, which cause it was never fully identified during the after-action report. So, as I said, 25% of wildfire causes are undetermined. 6.4% are lightning. Human-related causes include debris burning, largely unauthorized debris burning, and that's about 13.8, almost 14%. Electrical power, we've heard a lot about this in past years, is about 9.4, almost 10%, which it leads to the justification for the power company's public safety power shutoff initiatives. Vehicles either pulling over to the side of the road or off-road vehicles, either running very hot or improper spark arresters and mufflers creating sparks, trailers dragging chains creating sparks, cause about 8.8, almost 9% of these fires. Other equipment use, grinders and edgers and mowers contribute to about 8.2%. Arson, 7%. Campfires, 3.8 or 4%. Playing with fire, about 1.4%. Smoking, about 1.4%. And a various miscellaneous group, about 14.8 or 15%. So the point is not necessarily to focus on any one of those individual statistics, but to get a sense of the various human-related causes of wildland fire and to understand in aggregate, humans cause the overwhelming majority of these wildland fires. Nature, lightning strikes, cause a smaller percentage. So key to reducing the human cause of wildland fire is to stop this spark producing or the open flame use during these fire potential weather days, these fire days, these Santa Ana days, these potential of high wind days. And preventing the spark producing behavior or the use of open flames during these conditions involves behavior change. We all get into patterns of behavior. We are out mowing, we're out grinding, we're out doing construction work with potentially producing spark. Routinely, that's what we do, okay, on a daily basis. And behavior changes are difficult to affect and take time to affect. And recently, during COVID-19, we saw the need to implement a behavior change. And one of those behavior changes was the wearing of masks. And we've seen how long it's taken to really instill that behavior change in the public. And it's not, and there's still some reluctance to do so. Also, the social distancing behavior changes have taken weeks to implement. Well, we don't have weeks to change our behaviors when it comes to reducing this both individual and corporate behaviors that contribute to this spark producing or the open flame use during these weather conditions. So it's important that we talk about this, and we encourage these behavior changes both at the individual and at the corporate or business levels. And we really need to start changing these behaviors now. The good news is that many, if not all, of these behaviors are already fairly well practiced in our region due to our history with wildland fires. Okay, so this is not the first year we've been talking about this. CAL FIRE and local fire agencies are prepared. We saw them respond very well and effectively for the Valley Fire out in East County. San Diego County Office of Emergency Services, the Red Cross, and many local jurisdictions are already very well prepared for the wildland fire season. But once again, I want to shift my focus to individual preparedness and corporate and business preparedness. So first, talking a little bit about individual preparedness. The traditional best practices of individual preparedness remain important. You've heard these in some of the public service announcements already being issued by CAL FIRE and others in our region. Those are to have a plan, to have an emergency kit. There's a couple of things additional things we want in our emergency kit in the COVID-19 environment. If those aren't addressed, I'm happy to answer questions about that. And particularly important is how to stay informed during these wildfire incidents, or even before the incidents start, when traditional media and social media is talking about the potential for wildfire and the potential red flag conditions in effect and Santa Ana conditions, high wind conditions in effect. So it's important to stay informed so that when we know when to stop these practices that can contribute to the wildfires. And a common preparedness action individuals can take, if they haven't already done so, of course, is to ensure that their cell phones are registered for the Alert San Diego system. And that is done by going to readysandiego.org and filling out that template. That's the only way to register your cell phone for our regional San Diego County Alert San Diego emergency notification system. Towards the end, I'll come back, or you can ask a question if I run out of time. There is a new communications technology that has been used in 2020 associated with the Valley Fire to put out emergency notifications. It is the wireless alert system. It was first used one time during the 2017 Lilac Fire. But I'll come back and I'll talk a little bit about how it was used in the Valley Fire if we have a few minutes to do that. So once again, these common practices of preparedness are well documented, and you can find information on these preparing plans and types of things through County Office of Emergency Services webpage, the Red Cross, and other websites. But what are these additional emergency preparedness factors that we might want to be aware of in a COVID-19 environment when we have these wildland fires develop in a COVID wildfire? Once again, we have to pay attention to the traditional and social media and stay alert as to when the high wind conditions are forecasted, when we want to stay informed about the evolving fire potential. And an individual action we can take is talk to others about curtailing, lessening, stopping spark producing and open flame activities like outdoor cooking, outdoor burning, campfires, careless smoking, and other spark producing behaviors like the welding and the grinding and the cutting, off-roading, improperly maintained vehicles, the dragging trailer chains, and things of that nature. If we see those things, we should try and prevent those types of activities during these high wind conditions. We can also report them, and police and fire dispatch agencies have a non-emergency number, and that number in Carlsbad is 931-2197. Okay, so if you have something to report of a non-emergency nature, non-life-threatening nature, you can report that to Carlsbad PD dispatch at that 760-931-2197 number. Of course, if you see life-threatening activity, if you see a fire start, you can certainly call 911 to report that. So there's a lot of activities that we need to be particularly attuned to, and to make that behavior change about stopping them before they trigger actual fire starts, having the confidence to talk to our neighbors and our associates, our peers and our other employees, to make sure that they're aware that we should not be engaging in these activities in Carlsbad. Now, if the wildfire occurs and it threatens life and structures in Carlsbad, the Carlsbad Public Safety, whether it's the Emergency Operations Center, Carlsbad PD Dispatch, will be issuing evacuation notifications when the time's appropriate. And those evacuation notifications can take the form of an evacuation warning, which means that there is an imminent threat potential, and you are being warned of that potential, and you have some time to prepare to evacuate. Or if you receive a warning order, that means you need to evacuate now because that threat is an imminent hazard to life and property. And the notifications, whether they come out by Alert San Diego or the wireless emergency alert system, will usually start off with the identification of the agency that's making the emergency notification, followed by whether it's a emergency evacuation warning or an evacuation order. And then it will give you some specific information either about safe evacuation routes to follow, or the location of temporary evacuation points to proceed to, safe areas to proceed to. They'll usually conclude with a statement of where to find additional information, and in our region, that's usually a reference to 211 San Diego. Okay. So that is the basic contents of an evacuation notification, whether it's an order to evacuate now because your life is in danger, or a warning, be prepared to evacuate when you receive the evacuation order. And both of these were issued by San Diego County, largely San Diego Sheriff's Office in conjunction with the Valley Fire this year. When you evacuate, however, in a COVID-19 environment, there's some additional precautions that you might want to, additional plans you might want to have prepared for. In terms of your backup kit, you want to make sure that you have those COVID-19 things in your backup kit. So when you go to these temporary evacuation points, or if you're moved into a shelter, that you have those supplies necessary to keep you safe from others at either the evacuation point or the shelter. And those are, of course, your mask, hand sanitizer, wipes, and those should be in your emergency kit. One thing we've talked a little bit more about this year that hasn't really been talked about as much in previous years, but is even more important in the COVID-19 environment, is that anyone, whether you're a homeowner or a renter, can check with your insurance to confirm whether you have loss of use coverage in the case of an immediate displacement. Your insurance agency, and I understand one of you, maybe perhaps it was Alan, is in the insurance industry, but so you could certainly comment on this. But what I've learned through my insurance agencies is that if we are evacuating our home and incurring a loss of use, that our insurance agency would like to know that at the time so they can help us with the placement in a shelter, in a hotel, they would like to assist with that coordination. Better done while it's occurring than after the fact, according to at least my insurer. You might want to pre-identify some historically safe locations and hotels in those safe locations. Put those hotel numbers in your speed dial in your iPhone so you have it with you and you can make those arrangements if for some reason that's not being provided by your insurer. In a COVID-19 environment, you're going to have to prepare for longer stays at temporary evacuation points. It's going to take longer for the local jurisdiction in conjunction with the Red Cross to transition you from the evacuation point into a shelter, because the Red Cross, the county, and local jurisdictions' preferences are to put evacuees into hotel rooms and not put them into congregate care facilities. Congregate care facilities like traditional shelters, the school gymnasiums, or the other recreational facilities are a secondary option, almost an option of last resort, because it's a less controlled environment where there's more social interaction. The County of San Diego Office of Emergency Services and the Red Cross have pre-identified a number of hotels that they are prepared to place evacuees in. We saw this perhaps, I have the exact numbers here, so let me not speculate. The Red Cross put 399 people into 150 rooms, 400 people into 150 rooms during the Valley Fire so far. But it takes time to do that coordination with the hotel. And while that's being done, the evacuees are spending a longer length of time at the evacuation sites themselves. So it's best if residents are prepared for those longer stays at the evacuation centers, the temporary evacuation points. And to prepare for those longer stays, you might want to bring additional items. You might want to bring blankets. You might want to bring folding chairs. You might want to bring your own pop-up tent or lighting. Those things are not normal parts of your emergency kit. You can also bring packaged foods, a water, a sun umbrella or tent, as I said, sunscreen, some kids' games. And something that we haven't talked much about in the past with traditional shelters is evacuees might want to bring their electronic devices, because if there's wireless availability at these evacuation centers, some will have that, then the evacuees can continue to telework possibility during either at the evacuation point or if they move into the hotel shelters. Medications, and I've already mentioned the face coverings and the sanitizer and wipes and those types of things. So those are some of the things that individuals might want to consider during this as preparedness activities during this 2020 wildland fire season. In terms of businesses and agencies and organizations who also have corporate responsibilities to the entity, the business, and to the employees, they should be reviewing their facility plans, their facility evacuation plans. They should also have plans for curtailing the spark and flame producing work during Santa Ana and red flag conditions. They should be planning for the potential of power safety, power shutoffs when SDG&E curtails electricity to prevent that electricity from potentially being a source of further ignitions. We saw San Diego Gas and Electric do this during the Valley Fire this past week. The Valley Fire also threatened the sun leak in East County that was opened, resulting in a number of power outages in San Diego County associated with the Valley Fire. Businesses could be talking to their employees and reviewing the telecommuting practices. I know that these are largely instilled in a number of businesses, but doing so in response to a wildland fire might involve a little bit of planning, additional planning and communication, reviewing and updating emergency and continuity of operations plans, the business continuity of operations plan, educating supervisors on the need to monitor the fire weather. Okay, you should be paying attention to both the traditional weather sources and social media information when the fire potential increases during Santa Ana and red flag conditions, and instructing supervisors on when they should be issuing instructions that can result in work stoppage. Of course, that's going to be if that work is associated with spark producing or flame behavior. That would result in potentially work stoppages and loss of income. So that needs to be pre-planned, thought through by businesses and companies. And there should be full knowledge of the types of activities that businesses are engaged in, particularly those that are engaged in outdoor activities that lead to these spark producing activities, the landscape companies or the construction companies. And the discussion of kind of a corporate socially responsible vision for activities during high wind days, those types of things. With respect to the evacuation process, once the fires occur, businesses should make sure that they've reviewed the business evacuation processes. When the larger businesses evacuate, they release their employees into the community, and they're sharing the same roadways that the city is evacuating individuals on. So it's important to understand the impact of the larger businesses on the traffic flow, and decision makers should anticipate the potential to evacuate and attempt to meter and perhaps early evacuate to reduce the sudden the impact on the evacuation traffic flow of a large evacuation conducted all at one time. Businesses could be reviewing staff accountability. How is accountability maintained during the evacuation process? Businesses could be discussing with employees evacuation too. Are employees going to be returning home, or is the threat immediate, and do they need to be proceeding to the temporary evacuation points that are being identified by the local jurisdiction? And so there's a number of issues that businesses can be talking about employees at this point in the fire season to make sure that we're better prepared. So in summary, in terms of this fire season, I'd say that it's important to pay attention to this at both the individual and the corporate levels, and I'm happy to answer some questions on that. Before I wrap up, I just did want to talk a little bit about this past week's Valley Fire and provide some statistics on that, because they can help us anticipate what could be coming when the next fire occurs. We all know that if the Valley Fire started on Saturday, it's burned 17,000 acres. That's a significant fire, not the largest San Diego County has experienced, but still a large fire. It's probably 35 or so percent contained. So we're close to a week into the fire, 6 days into the fire, and there's 35% containment. It's a sad statistic, but 30 single-family residents have been damaged or destroyed by this fire. And so we have to understand that there's a real hazard, there's a real threat associated with these incidents. Jurisdictions look to resources and reimbursement when these fires occur. For the Valley Fire, there's been no state or federal assistance for that, which means that local jurisdictions are incurring all the costs. There's hope. There's been what's called an FMAG application issued, but it hasn't been approved yet for reimbursement for the firefighting expenses. So in terms of the emergency notifications associated with the Valley Fire, I mentioned the wireless emergency alert. Those are the alerts that come into your cell phone that are similar to the Amber alerts. There's been 8 of these sent, 8 of these wireless emergency alerts. Some of you might have received one of these wireless emergency alerts, even though you don't live in the vicinity of the fire, okay? So I want to talk just 1 minute about this. The wireless emergency alert, as I said, is a newer technology. It was used for the first time in San Diego County during the Lilac Fire in 2017. Only one WEA alert was sent then. It went to San Diego County. It went and bled over into Orange County and San Bernardino County because the technology was still evolving, was still improving. In this past year, the precision with which the intended recipient area, the technology associated with limiting the footprint of these calls has improved significantly. But there was one of these calls, one of these 8 calls, in which there was operator error. And so the operator didn't program the system correctly, and it went to all of San Diego County. So the one WIA that many of you might have received associated with the Valley Fire was not due to a technology failure. It was really due to a human operator. So what we've seen is 7 cases of this new WIA technology having a precise capability to only go to the intended recipients. In past years, in 2014, when we were evacuating using Alert San Diego, we used Thomas Brother grid squares. Okay, and many of you are familiar with that Thomas Brother grid map. And using Alert San Diego, we could be very precise on to which Thomas Brother grid squares we used, and that's how we evacuated during the Poinsettia fire. In recent years, we've shifted over to something called a public safety grid square system. For all practical purposes, for your purposes, it looks just like Thomas Brother grid squares with another name. And what we have found in the Valley Fire is that the bleed over has not been countywide, but it's been very close to the forecasted 1/10 of a mile bleed over around that public safety grid square. So 7 out of the 8 of these wireless emergency alerts only went to the intended population. And so we now have the confidence that this is a very useful additional technology for notifying people of the hazard. The benefit of the WIA, the benefits include you don't need to register your cell phone for it. All newer phones have the capability to receive the WIA alerts. But it also has the buzzer and the vibrating, which can help call attention to the alert either during the day or perhaps at night. One thing that San Diego County did for part of the county this year that was different from prior years is that in addition to the wireless emergency alert and the Alert San Diego alerts, they sent out 13 Alert San Diego's alerts. 6 of those were evacuation orders. The others were warnings, and there was 1 shelter-in-place notification. But in addition to those Alert San Diego calls, the county put out a emergency alert system alert, and that's where there's a banner that shows up on your television, and you get the alerting beeping on your TV, and then the voice comes out and announces the nature of the hazard. And they did this in advance during the day so that residents in that area were more aware of the potential for that progression of the fire into their area to hazard them during the nighttime hours. So it was an attempt to forewarn people while people were still awake about the potential for a fire hazard developing that evening. So they used the emergency alert system, the older TV banner system. So I think I've probably talked about this enough. I'm happy to answer questions. I see there might be some in the chat room. Thanks so much for listening. And I did want to turn it back to Carolina so that we can get our other speakers into the meeting. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks. David, can you stick around until the end of the meeting and we leave questions for the very end? Yes, okay, perfect. So let's thank you so much. Every time we hear from you, we learn so much, and it is so helpful. Thank you for taking the time this morning. Very appreciated. So we're gonna now turn this to Sergeant DeVelasco and Sergeant Hargett. And one of the reasons we wanted to have our crime prevention brief in this COVID environment is because we heard about some recent break-ins, some burglaries in the village. And it was, I think, over the 4th of July weekend, you know, there were like 5 of them. And most recently, we learned about a break-in also at the Forum. And so I don't know if these things are just becoming, if that's normal, or if these things are being more reported, or if there is in fact a trend that's telling us that this environment of economic distress is pushing more people out to commit crimes. But regardless, we want to make sure that our businesses are prepared, and you know, we are very, very grateful to have these 2 Carlsbad PD sergeants come here and talk to us about it. So Sergeant DeVelasco or Sergeant Hargett, I don't know which one would like to start.
For now, I think Alonso is going to cover most of COVID. So I would say, here's what's interesting about law enforcement now, and especially us as a community, is how connected we are to social media. So yes, 5 sounds like a lot, but really we're probably hearing that reported a couple times. So we're like, oh, wow, what's going on? And for me, that's concerning too, because I live here and I have friends that own businesses here. And but I can say that the unique part about being in Carlsbad is the ability and willingness of the agency and the city to support us in missions to reduce crime and improve the quality of life in the city. So if we have areas, I'll just give you guys a background real quick. Weekly, the watch commander, so myself, the 4 other watch commanders, the traffic division, our senior volunteers, Alonso, crime suppression team, our homeless outreach team, we meet weekly to discuss crime trends, what's going on in the city, what each watch is seeing, and how we can address it. So for instance, we've seen an uptick in, how do I say this, like criminal activity overall. It's at hotels in the south and in the middle of the city. So Avenue and Encinas, off of Cannon Road. What we did last week was kind of create a proactive enforcement detail with officers coming in on their day off on overtime to address those areas, because those people who are involved in the narcotics or at the hotels using stolen credit cards to rent rooms are probably going to be the people that are committing crimes in the city. So those are the people we want to target. And when I say target, I mean arrest if they're committing crimes in the city, and help on the other end if we need to help them. So if it's someone who's just homeless and needs help or is struggling, we're going to connect those people to resources and then get them the help they need. Some of the things that happen, like we hear these, I know in the village there's been a couple window smashes lately. Right now we don't have any leads on that. We don't have any video surveillance that we can look at. So that's where we all come together as a team and be a good neighbor. And if you see something, say something. So that's one thing that's also unique with Carlsbad. If you do see something, if you have a question, you can call us anytime. But it's important. A lot of times people are like, well, I didn't want to bother you guys. No, that's our job. Bother us. Please bother us. We are here to help and go out there and figure this out. And sometimes the littlest phone call from someone can help us get pointed in the right direction for a suspect or a person who needs help. So we have had, I think, crime trends wise, reached out to Cindy Anderson, our crime analyst. We have seen there's been a countywide uptick of like restaurant burglaries and window smashes, kind of targeting ATMs. But our detectives have been working hard, and they work together, which is unique now with all this social media and how our crime analysts all kind of work together. We communicate well as a group and know that if there is a suspect, for instance, in San Diego that's coming up to North County, we'll work together as a team and get that person in custody, and then go through the DA's office to get the proper charges. So we have had some window smash burglaries, mainly in restaurants, targeting ATMs. That person is in custody. We've had a few out in Bresci Ranch, some optometry stuff. If you've heard lately, there's been some optometry series. We do have that person in custody. And then something that's kind of ongoing is pharmacies. So I know Carlsbad, my pharmacy down there in Carlsbad, the Village Pharmacy, has been hit a few times, and that's just targets. That's from Sacramento to San Diego. It kind of goes everywhere. So those are things that we're consistently working and going from there. To say there's big problems in the Village area in District 1, we're kind of, like I said, maybe we're it's not as bad as it seems. Yeah, as are people getting victimized, and that's where just keep our ear to the ground, talk to people. That's what we're telling our police officers too, to be out there and talking to people. And what we're seeing is going on foot, talking to some of the homeless people down there, and a lot of them, if you just stop and talk to them, because we have that relationship with them, they're going to tell us what's going on, and it works to our advantage. One thing I want to talk about real quick is crimemapping.com. If you guys haven't seen crimemapping.com, you can go there and you can kind of type in your zip code and it'll show you the crime in that area. So it's a good tool just to look at and have available to you. I'm looking in the chat room here. Let me see if I can answer some of these. So I think Leela talked about some car break-ins and stealing. It's interesting because my wife makes fun of me because I hit the door lock before I go to bed like 10 times on each car, right? To make sure they're locked. We have to start doing that. A lot of these break-ins that we hear, they're not technically break-ins. They're really like just petty theft from an unlocked vehicle. So a lot of our crimes we see, people forget to lock their door or just aren't in the habit of doing it. We have to lock our doors. And that would solve a lot of this because a lot of these people, it's crimes opportunity. So they go and check that out. There has been like some porch thefts from Ring doorbell cameras and so forth. We actually got that person in custody. There's a couple that were floating around out there. So we got that guy in custody. He's actually, him and his girlfriend are good for a few burglaries throughout North County. And when I say see something, say something, just the other morning at about 4:40 in the morning, we got a call from a neighbor that said they saw a guy, this was down off of Paseo del Norte, saw a guy trying doorknobs on cars or door handles. And we got there and sure enough, we got a guy running from the area and he's got bolt cutters and he's got garage door openers. And so just, it's a good reminder to make sure you lock your doors and try to tell your neighbors to do the same thing. And that's the thing in my neighborhood, if someone's garage door's open and it's 9 at night, call them or go talk to them. Leela, any other questions on that one?
Nope. I do know that people were posting to Nextdoor videos and stuff. Are you capturing that somewhere, or do you have someone monitoring Nextdoor posts under the crime topic?
We do. So not only does I can tell you a lot of our cops that live in the city actually have Nextdoor. And that's like one of the best areas to kind of listen to what's going on. Besides that, our crime analyst monitors it. Jody Reyes, our public information officer, also does it. And then all the other surrounding agencies, it's funny how everything will just come together and like, oh, look at this on Nextdoor, and it all marries up.
And then Brian, my other question was about masks, because I was in the village at the farmer's market, and I would say maybe, just on that day, 70% of people were in compliance with masks, but the others weren't. So it almost seems like some people were defiant on purpose. So how do you interact with people who are just blatantly ignoring, defying mask orders?
So it's a tough thing, right, for police, because especially in the climate of law enforcement right now, we have to be very delicate on how we deal with situations, and because we want to be out there creating and building relationships, not tearing them down. So we try to be very balanced and delicate when we deal with it, and it's tough because we are working with our DA's office. Alonso will talk about this later, but all the tickets that the sheriff's departments wrote in the beginning for not wearing your mask, there's a couple hundred, I think. They're still sitting. No one has decided what we're going to do with them. So the legal grounds for us to write a ticket or contact someone for not wearing a mask is tough. And like I said, we have to remain balanced in that. So do we talk to people and we're out and about? Yeah, on these holiday weekends, that's what we were doing. And it's crazy to think about the shift we've done with law enforcement. Now we're we're carefully balancing that. Please wear your mask and please socially distance. And it's just hard. So Leila, we're trying. We try to tell people, we go out and contact businesses that we get complaints on several times a week. So some people don't believe in it and don't want to wear a mask. And we right now we're in this education stance and kind of telling people, please do it, and please be a good neighbor and good friend.
Yeah. Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me look here. So we do monitor the next door posts. I think I covered that. I don't think we save data or anything, but we do monitor them. It's good. And that's a great platform, but it's also tell everybody to give us a call if they see anything or hear something. Let's see. Leila says, can you talk about patrolling the neighborhoods as a deterrent? This is what people are suggesting. How do you interact with people who are not wearing masks? Okay, so did I cover that, Leila? Okay. I lock all the time. Great. I do too. Our officers getting increased harassment from citizens, from Sarah Gilman. She's trying to put me on the spot because we have a relationship. So you know what? Do I have to answer you, Sarah? Just kidding. No, you know what? We're so lucky to work in the city of Carlsbad because we're not getting really any harassment. Is it made our job more difficult? Has it made it? Yeah, but it's good. This is a good conversation to have for overall law enforcement. I think it's healthy to go and look how we can change and become better. What I can say is we're lucky to be in Carlsbad. We're lucky to work for the city that we work for. It's very different. The things that we're telling our officers nowadays is take the time to stop and talk to people because it's so important. Because I've dealt with a lot of the protest organizers. So some of the protest organizers, he has my personal cell phone. He texts me now. We go back and forth. And I've learned so much from him about how I can be different and do better. And we're doing it. But I can tell you that even with talking to some of these groups, when they're like, you guys need to do this. And it's like, oh, we already do this. Oh, all right, we need to do this. Well, we do that. And so what that's taught us is we need to be better at sharing our message and telling people what we do. And I think we're doing that. Is there a couple people that don't like the police? Yeah, but that's what we signed up for, and it's all good. And sometimes you just kill them with kindness, and then they can't even be mad at you, and it's all good. So, but no, it's not too bad in Carlsbad. We're very lucky to be here, but we're just keeping trucking forward and learning and getting better.
Thanks, Brian. It's good to know how our citizens are responding to you all, to the boots on the ground, because otherwise we don't know. So thanks.
Yeah, I think so. Unless Alonso wants to add something different, but I think I think you would concur that we're very lucky.
Yeah, growing up here, kind of understanding the dynamics of the community, but I couldn't be happier working anywhere else than I am here, and the support we've gotten from the community. And like Brian said, we can always look in the mirror and say, do we need improvement? And be honest with ourselves. And I think our department already does that even prior to this, the environment that we're currently working under. But again, the business community, the residents, the people visiting, they've been tremendously supportive, and they understand the challenges that we're all going through. So if I could just make one statement about Brian regarding the increase in crime. So just like COVID, it's kind of changed kind of the working conditions that we're operating as law enforcement, that they've released a lot of people that would normally be locked up because of COVID. So those low-level offenders that go through your unlocked cars, take your mail, do these petty crimes, they would traditionally be in jail until either they bailed or they made arraignment or were sentenced. But again, because of COVID and trying to minimize the exposure to everyone that's in custody, that they're releasing these people. Another thing that is kind of a trend that's occurred over the last few years with some legislation change, and I'm not trying to get too political, I'm just kind of explaining kind of how our working conditions have changed, is with the decriminalization of some crimes. Suspects now know that if they go through unlocked cars, it's just a misdemeanor crime, versus the trend used to be if you broke into a car, like car break-ins were where they would smash the window, steal stereo, or steal whatever property was in there, and that was a felony. So now they just are issued a citation for going into your unlocked car. It's a misdemeanor, low-level crime, and we're not going to put them in jail anymore. So those are they understand that the penalties currently are very low, that they're going to get a ticket for taking your stuff. You know, the probability of us recovering your property is low. You know, something like electronics or something, what we tell people is, and Jody does this through her education, is, you know, I write my driver's license number on it, not your name, but at least your number. So if we've come across it, we can run it and we know who it belongs to, and we do everything to try and get a hold of the person who we've identified it as, so we can get that property back. Now we have an additional charge of possession of stolen property, because if we stop somebody and we can't identify who the property belongs to, we can't carry that a charge of possession of stolen property until a crime case is filed, and by that time they're on the win. So that's just what I wanted to add. That's you know, that COVID has put some people that would generally have been arrested and would be in custody. It's released them just for safety reasons. So that's it, Brian.
Thank you, folks. Any questions before I flip this over to Alonso for COVID stuff?
Yeah, just one comment.
Yes, sir.
Having grown up in South Central Los Angeles, having lived through the Watts riots, etc., having the police driving around in Carlsbad is good. People feel good about that, whether they're, you know, just the guys that check for parking tickets and things of that nature. But being visible to the public, I think, is really key. I've noticed that since we've lived here over the last 7 years. That, to me, that's really important. And seeing somebody in a car and they smile or they wave, that's really important for people feeling comfortable about what's going on rather than being invisible.
Yeah, thank you. And that's something that, you know, with a new generation of police officers, where it's all electronic driven, right? And now we have computers in our car and phones. And so we're telling people it's good to be out and about, kind of go back to the old school policing, out and about, get on foot, wave to people, talk to people. And that's the thing, the community knows what's going on. And if you want to know, then talk to them. Thanks for that. Any other questions real quick? All right, thank you. And I can chime in with one of those COVID stuff, because that's been pretty interesting as well. Thanks, everyone. That was great.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Kathy or Josh, should I go ahead with the COVID COVID topic?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll make this quick. So as I mentioned previously, my current assignment is the crime suppression team. I have 3 officers, and our primary role is to go after chronic offenders, people that have been identified at certain locations, creating or what do you call it? That have been identified as being responsible for crime increases at certain locations. And we're a proactive team. We're not responsible for the radio, although we do help out. But we are also we work in an undercover, unmarked cars, but we're in police uniforms, which allows us to kind of patrol areas and not stick out so much. So that's what my current assignment is. Since COVID started, Patrol was handling all the COVID complaints, but because the county health order and the state's order was changing so frequently, the department determined that there needed to be one point of contact that was going to be the subject matter expert and was able to kind of handle all the complaints and answer all the questions that come along with the county health order. Captain Pasquale identified me, and I'm now in a meeting with you to discuss COVID-19. So I'll give you a real quick background. The police department, our model is an educational approach. We do not want to criminalize businesses for being in violation of county health order. Our main goal is, when we do get a complaint, is to reach out to the business, explain to them what the complaint was, and to educate them on whether they are in violation, or if they're not in violation, then we document that as well, that the complaint was unfounded. Our response on COVID-19 is primarily reactive. We don't proactively go out to businesses and start checking and making sure people are wearing masks. make sure people are social distancing. I don't have the time or the resources to make sure every business is an essential business. And the complaints that come across, it's kind of interesting. A lot of them are from competing businesses. Some are even employee driven that don't want to be at work. I know this sounds silly. I know you guys are all business owners or have some type of, and some of them are by residents, either complaining that employees weren't wearing masks correctly, or that they were letting guests inside not wearing masks, or that it's an essential business and employee, or it's a non-essential business, but yet they're open. So it's a very complex topic when we're responding out to a complaint, which is why I've been identified as being the primary point of contact. And as I mentioned earlier, our goal is to get compliance from the businesses, employees, and residents. But there have been businesses that have been in defiance of the county health order, and that's kind of created, there's a couple, less than 5, but the steps that we've taken with that, we've tried to make contact with them at least 5 times before we report them to the county. And then the county now has a compliance team, which they take the steps to also get compliance from a different perspective, different agency. And then once we continue to get defiance or non-compliance, then the county steps in and then they will file a cease and desist order for the business to shut down. So it takes many steps and visits before that's even discussed. Again, we do not want to criminalize businesses for being in violation of county health order. Our goal is to get compliance. And we've experienced this with both businesses, family entertainment. We've also experienced this with churches. We don't want to be in the business of shutting down churches based on their non-compliance. However, when we're asking other businesses when other churches or businesses are in compliance and they're making sure that everyone who's there is wearing masks and social distancing, it's kind of difficult to turn away from someone who's refusing to do it. We have to be fair, enforce the county health order fairly to every business and every church. And so basically, we want to make sure that we've taken multiple steps requesting compliance before we take an enforcement action. We've had a cease and desist order on 2 businesses, and we have not gone any further. But if we ended up having to go any further than a cease and desist order, the county would actually shut them down but that would have to be through a court order and through a judge's signing. So by the time we're anticipating, by the time you get to that kind of progressive enforcement, there's been a lot of documentation and a lot of attempts to get the business to comply. And again, we haven't had that happen yet. So, and fingers crossed that we don't. Leland, in regards to mask enforcement, this is a very, very sensitive and challenging part of the county health order to enforce. And because there are a total of 8 exemptions that prevent people from not having to wear masks, and we don't have the legal authority to ask people what their medical conditions are, what their exemptions are. Mm-hmm. You would hope we're all in this together and people would do their part to wear a mask. But again, like Lieutenant Hargett said, there are people that are just in defiance and they don't want to do what's being asked or being told to do. And so again, for the police department's perspective, it's very difficult to enforce. I did reach out to the district attorney's office. She echoed what I'm telling you, that they would not be doing mask enforcement prosecution because there are so many exemptions. I have the document right here, and it's all available on county health, because that's one of their biggest complaints is there's no mask being worn, or masks are being worn below the nose, or employees aren't wearing masks, or employees do need to be wearing masks, especially like food serving, and if not, then the manager needs to accommodate them at a location that's less where they're not going to expose they're not exposed to food or food service. So there are some for businesses specifically, there are some rules where they can be accommodated if they can't wear a mask. But so yeah, that's kind of our perspective.
I have a follow-up question, comment on that. So I try to explain to people, it's like car seats for children. You have to have a car seat. And if you were to pull over and your kids aren't in the car, I grew up without a car seat. We were playing in the back of the car. But the difference would be that you don't have an exception. There are no exceptions for kids in car seats, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the problem thing is, and people have, again, it's the groups that do not want to be told what to do, however they feel about this pandemic. They're using it as an opportunity to. There's these people that print out these signs that says, they don't answer you. They just say, you're not allowed to ask me about my medical questions. I fall under the exemption. And like Lieutenant Hargett said, in the environment that we're in now, we're not going to get into citing somebody or potentially a physical altercation because someone wasn't wearing a mask. It's just, there's way too many loopholes, and it's just unfortunate that people don't want to kind of be in this together, but that's the approach. And the people do get upset with the police department, like, you should be citing everybody, and you kind of have to just educate them as well.
Right.
So,
got it.
So our current response, so let's just say someone calls about your business. What we would do is we send out either myself or another officer. He goes out, he makes contact with the business owner or the manager, whoever's the highest ranking person, and we'll say, hey, this is the complaint. The officer looks around, says, is everyone in compliance? Yes. Okay. And then he'll close the call with a CAD disposition, and just basically notes it's recorded on body worn camera, so we can't be accused of, oh, well, you guys didn't, you ignored what you saw. Well, no, it's all recorded. The officer's going to document what he saw. We had a complaint yesterday that 40 people were inside of a salon, and the officer went in there. There was not 40 people in the salon. It was, I believe it was a patron that was upset with the level of service that she got, called and complained. But we want to document exactly what was observed and what actions were taken and who we spoke with. And I know Lieutenant Hargett's been dealing with one business particularly, and every time that he's gone out there, they're in violation. He tries to educate them, and they said, okay, we're gonna fix this. And then the following week they do another visit, and they're still in violation. So if it ever rises to the level of a cease and desist, it's all documented of both video and our conversations. Go ahead, Bryan.
Just real quick too, it's funny. Some people, just because they don't like the business or they've had bad service there, will be repeat callers saying that, oh, they're out of the COVID-19 compliance, that's hard for us. And then it puts us in a bad spot to go out there and actually talk to these people. So we've also seen that, to keep in mind that there's either people that are super passionate about that everybody has to be wearing a mask, or they didn't like service they got out of that business at some time, and they call us several times a week to have us go out there, even though there might not be any violations. And that's why it's important for us to go out there. Thanks.
Great point, Bryan. And that really is, you show up and you feel terrible. And I've contacted probably over 100 businesses, and they've been outstanding. I mean, 99.9 of them have been supportive. They appreciate that I'm there visiting, and they actually feel, they're like, I'm sorry you have the terrible job. And we're not there to shut them down at all. We're just there to respond to a complaint. Okay, so we're involved. So everyone who's involved in the COVID response team, they have a compliance team now, but it's the DA's office, our city attorney is involved now, the Department of Health, and the police department. So there's definitely a lot of people that are involved, and for any type of enforcement or progressive enforcement. As far as the numbers about what's going on right now, we're sliding towards the widespread again. I'm not sure if everyone saw on the news or not, but the number of new cases. So the governor changed, and I'm gonna share my screen here real quick. As far as, can everybody see that? Okay, so September 1st, this new tier system was kind of started, I guess, or deployed to. This is the new tier system about what businesses can operate and what they're required to operate under. Thankfully, right now, San Diego County is under substantial tier 2, so we are now allowed some type of indoor services, but there are modifications. All those modifications are under the California Department of Public Health website about how they need to operate. So again, most of you folks having businesses, you can look on there and you can see what you're required to do to operate indoors, and if you're outdoors, what the modifications are. So the new tier system is the number of new cases per 100,000, and then the percent of positive tests. So San Diego County recently went from 5.8 to 6.9 new cases per 100,000, and our positive tests went up 3.4 to 4.2. So we have 2 weeks to get those numbers down. If those numbers go any higher in the next 2 weeks, then we would go up to widespread tier 1, which again is the most restrictive. And when I respond to a business, and I'll give you an example like personal care services, because we were getting a lot of complaints about salons and stuff like that. They're open doors with modifications. So I being the point of contact, I know what those modifications are. They have to stay 6 feet apart, make sure that there's masks being worn, and that they have sanitation protocols taped on at the entrances to the businesses, and that they have a safe reopening plan checklist that they have to do every day for sanitation. Trying to think here as far as, so you can get all this information as far as what your business is and how you would have to operate. Gyms and fitnesses, this is probably our number one complaint. It's you can work out without a mask inside. You just have to maintain 6 feet of social distance. I've been getting complaints that people aren't social, or that they're not wearing masks working out, but the county has, and the state has exempted that. Here's the thing as well. I know everyone reads this, but it can be contradicting from one week to the next. So I strongly encourage you or your employees to read the most current county health order, which will explain it. So again, this is on the, I don't know if you guys can see the website. Probably copy the link and put it down, but it's PDF. And bars, breweries, and distilleries are still all closed. So if you drive by and you see one, by all means, call it in, because they're not supposed to be open. And we saw that with the first soft opening, the increase in COVID cases on bars and breweries and social gatherings. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Another thing that we get, and I'll try and finish off with this, is there's a lot of confusion about businesses being open and closed that are essential. The governor has listed what essential businesses are. It's kind of difficult for us when we get a complaint about, oh, it's a non-essential business. So I have to look in there and see what the business falls under. There are some complaints that come in that people say, well, it's not essential. And then I look up and they are essential. So just because we visit a business doesn't necessarily mean they're non-essential. We're just responding to the complaint, making sure that they're in compliance with the social distancing and the wearing of masks. So does anybody have any questions? For Carlsbad, real quick. Carlsbad has had a total of 639 cases. 46 are currently active. And then countywide, we've had 674 new cases with a total of 41,324, and we've had a total number of deaths of 721. So I can start reading here as far as some of the questions here when responding to mask complaints. Does no mask lead to trespass if they don't leave the business? Yeah, it's your business. You have the right to refuse service to anybody, and if they're not refusing to wear masks, you can let them know. I can tell you this though, if it's like a grocery store or services, they do say that even people that are exempt, that the business has to make accommodations. I don't, and the reason is because then you would be discriminated against someone potentially under ADA. So like at a grocery store, and I can tell you I have a friend who refuses to wear a mask. And so they got kicked out of a grocery store. But what the grocery store did is they went shopping for her, and then she came out. She has some underlying health conditions that she could qualify under the exemptions. But as long as a business is willing to make an accommodation, you should be okay as far as not being in violation of an ADA discrimination. So does that kind of, Mark, does that kind of help with your answer? Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
Okay.
I just wanted to see if there was an uptake in the number of trespass, if you're actually writing trespass tickets for that, or if you get compliancy.
No, we don't. And the way trespasses work is we have to give them a written warning first saying, okay, you're not allowed to be here. And that happens a lot with our homeless complaints when they're sleeping on private property. So, but yeah, it's your business. You can ask them to leave. And if they refuse to leave, then you call us and then we can kind of, hopefully de-escalate the person's complaint and kind of work with them as for a reasonable solution.
Yep. Thank you.
Let's see here. Any deaths from COVID in Carlsbad? I don't have those numbers, whether we've had any deaths. Brian, do you know if those, let me look real quick.
When you say active cases, you say cases and then you say active cases, are those ones that are hospitalizations?
We don't get that information. So the numbers I just get from you are from our city manager. We get weekly updates.
Yeah.
And he doesn't break down whether those are hospitalized or whether those are people just being quarantined. It's what the county's reported to us. Okay. That those are the information. So yeah, I don't know if it drills down to whether that's where they live. So they count it as a Carlsbad case, right, whether or not they were exposed somewhere else.
Okay.
I know in a corporate world, we consider active that they're still on quarantine.
Okay.
With our employees at our facility. So until they receive their 2 negative tests in a row, we still consider them active, as well as anybody within that contact tracing arena as well.
Okay.
And I can add a little bit to this. So when an individual tests positive, that data is shared back with County Public Health and Epidemiology. Okay. And they build the statistical database, and they know the location, the city in which this individual lives. And to Mark's point, people were not declared clear of COVID-19. In the past, people were not declared cleared of COVID-19 until they had passed those 2 negative tests. Okay, that criteria is no longer the criteria for really determining whether an individual has been cleared anymore. It's one way of doing it, but it's not the adopted criteria now. And so there's a time period, and that time period in the past has been 14 days, and now it's 10 days. And so this active number is an estimate based on the infection date and the positive test result and a period of time, and we adjust the numbers and estimate the number of active cases, and this changes on a daily basis in Carlsbad, and recently it's been in the 40s, and as Alonso has said, about 46. So Mark, that 2 negative test criteria is perhaps used by some jurisdictions. It's not currently what we use to estimate the active cases in Carlsbad now. We use the other time criteria that's also adopted by the county.
Yeah, and we do the same. I apologize, I didn't put the time frame in there, but yeah, we do look at the time, because by the time it's reported to us, usually a few days have gone by. By the time they go and get their test, they get the first results. By the time they wait a while, get their second results, it usually comes out to about 10, 14 days. Okay. And again, we're dealing with multiple countries, and how Mexico handles it is different than how we're handling it in the UK and so forth. So from a corporate standpoint, we kind of come up with a general standard. Yeah, it's pretty much following the time and the test numbers as well. So, okay. Thanks.
And there's another comment regarding Leila's question on deaths in Carlsbad. The county also keeps track of this, and the county puts out a North County report periodically. And so as of, and I know it's still dated right now, but as of August 20th, the county was reporting no Carlsbad deaths. Okay, however, that is dated information, and anecdotally, without confirmation, and this is not a county reported number, so anecdotally, we have heard of a number of Carlsbad fatalities, but it hasn't been officially confirmed yet. Okay. I did want to talk just briefly about individual cases and then community outbreaks. If you are following the city manager's report, which is a great source of information, a lot of work goes into the preparation of those reports. From time to time, you'll have seen a graph that shows Carlsbad's case rate as a percentage based on 50,000 populations compared to the other 18 cities in the county of San Diego. And you've noticed that really, with the exception of the first couple weeks after March 22nd, which is when the first death started being reported, Carlsbad has been at the bottom of the list on these line graphs compared to the other jurisdictions in San Diego County. Poway has been at the very bottom. Carlsbad has been second lowest in number of case infection rates, and all of that is good. And that just doesn't happen by chance. It happens as a result of businesses developing the safety plans and enforcing the safety plans. It happens because Carlsbad PD is out enforcing and educating. And Carlsbad has been particularly proactive in making face masks available in our public to create awareness and change behaviors. And most recently, and so Carlsbad has issued over the past couple months since May, close to 180,000 masks into the community, largely along the seawall. But an innovative twist to help keep it fresh over Labor Day weekend is because many people now have the mask. And so it's the decision of whether they're actually wearing the mask at a particular time outdoors or not. And so to engage residents, we created a mask stamping campaign, and I guess you really can't see this well, but we have stamped the mask with sayings, and some say stop COVID-19, others say thank you nurses, some said protect loved ones, support local business, we're out supporting local business, but the preferred mask, the most favorite stamp was I Heart Carlsbad. And it was at least, it was the runaway favorite, at least 50 to 1 for everyone that stopped by the tent they wanted, which is great community support. So I wanted to acknowledge that and thank our community for that recognition. And it just is a reflection of how residents view the effort, the city effort, and the law enforcement effort to make these masks available. Having said that, that's the good news. We have had, we've already talked about active cases in Carlsbad, about 40 some. We want to see that number come down. We've also had some community outbreak. And I'm speaking to the businesses right now because these community outbreaks are occurring in the business, the retail, and the restaurant and beverage serving component of that. We have had a couple outbreaks in Carlsbad. So it's important to emphasize the importance of the masks, of maintaining social distancing, and for the business community of maintaining their safety plans and enforcing those safety plans. Because we certainly want to stop the outbreaks that we've had in Carlsbad. We've been very fortunate, relatively speaking, we're very, very, very good. But the goal is 0, right? And we don't want any more of these community outbreaks in our businesses. So, one last compliment to businesses, if I could. I will keep it real quick. I talked a little bit about sheltering related to wildfire and how the Red Cross is putting them in hotels. We reached out to our hospitality sector. A good percentage of our hospitals contacted the general managers, asked for their 24/7 contact information, asked if we could put them in Alert San Diego to give them a call to find out what their availability and rate might be if we needed to place them from the evacuation into shelter. Very strong support from our hospitality sector. Thank you, Carlsbad Hotels. But during this past week on Tuesday, there was a very, very small vegetation fire in Vista, right on the north side of the 78, right across the 78. Fire assets jumped on it, kept it contained, very, very small. But one of those hotels, and I'll give a shout out to Extended Stay, called and said they were monitoring the fire activity and they had rooms and they just wanted to make them available. Not even in Carlsbad, but looking out for the neighbors as well. So thanks for all this community support and the Chamber's role in keeping the business community a part of the total community in our COVID and wildland fire preparedness. Thanks, Brett.
Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect segue to our president and CEO, just to help us wrap up this meeting. Brett, any final comments you'd like to add?
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thanks to everybody for joining in today. Great content from everybody. I did want to highlight, we touched on this last month, but we have launched our Gift Carlsbad program, which is an economic stimulus program that really comes through the Ready Carlsbad Business Alliance as part of our, response to the pandemic and recovery, hopefully recovery from the pandemic. And what the program is, if you go to giftcarlsbad.com, giftcarlsbad.com, you will find merchants there in Carlsbad who have signed up. At the moment, I just checked, there's 42 merchants so far and growing every day as we add more restaurants and more retail, more coffee shops and breweries, etc. And the way it works is if you buy a gift card to one of these establishments for $25, you'll get a bonus gift card, a $5 bonus gift card for free. If you buy a gift card to one of these establishments for $40, you'll get a $10 bonus gift card for free. And that funding has been made available through the Ready Carlsbad Business Alliance funds that they had raised in the past and matching funds from the City of Carlsbad. So we're paying the admin fees for this program as well as for the bonus gifts. And so our hope is that many Carlsbad residents will take advantage of this program. The great benefits of it is that the money goes straight to these merchants, right away, immediately. And then of course people can redeem the gift cards at their leisure whenever it's convenient for them. But we're trying to get money into our businesses' hands to help them during these challenging times. So I encourage you guys to help us spread the word, giftcarlsbad.com, get people buying there. And we're working hard in the background with the Carlsbad Village Association, Visit Carlsbad, and also with the city to get more and more merchants enrolled. We hope to get to 100. So we're at 42 right now and we're continuing to expand. But anyways, just wanted to help get that word out. And part of who we are as Ready Carlsbad is the response and recovery. And this is a part of it economically this year. So wanted to bring that up.
Do you have a hashtag for that program?
I guess
Gift Carlsbad.
Gift Carlsbad would be great since that's the URL. But yeah, thanks for asking.
Thank you so much, Brett. And with that, don't forget, just a few quick announcements towards the end. Don't forget, we have our City Council candidate debate coming up at the end of the month. And we'll also have currently a survey that we're doing just to check on local businesses and see what local issues, and especially in relation to the business community, are important to everyone. So I have put that on the chat, and I'm gonna just attach it again in case it got buried somewhere, but it's on there right now. And once again, thank you all for joining us today, and we'll definitely touch base with you next month.